Thank you so much. Kate, come on up. You can stop playing on the musician, please. Tell him to stop for a second. With the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. Let's even this up on both sides. Come on around. Don't be scared. Come on around. We're going to, we're here with the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. And we've been in training all day preparing a coordinating committee. And tonight we're going to hold a press conference, a mass press conference. We have people. Would you all say the places you've come in from, name the cities, just one at a time from this side? Jacksonville, Florida. What, Florida? Apopka, Florida. Spring Hill, Florida. Tallahassee. Tampa. Orlando. Tallahassee. Who? Ocoee. Great. I want to ask all the clergy that can to come right in the center. Diversity, I want to ask you to come into the center. Where's my other clergy over that way? Come on in this way, brother. Thank you so much. We've been in training today with people from all over Florida. A few weeks ago, for members of the media, we had planned to have a mass assembly at the Florida State House in Tallahassee. We then found out, Liz, you want to come in this, right in here? Liz. We found out that in Florida, from Dr. Morris and others, that DeSantis and the state government decided that in order for you to apply for a permit for the state house assembly building lawn, you got to go through a legislator. Well, we believe that's unconstitutional. We believe that the state assembly house belongs to the people. Belongs to the people. And so we decided that we weren't going to come until we had at least challenged that in a lawsuit, because, again, we have a First Amendment right to freedom of speech. Dr. Morris is the chair of the Council of Churches here in North Carolina, and he and brothers and sisters who are all a part of that. I see another chip, clergy, come on up. If you're clergy and you're here, come on up. If you're a lay person, come on up. You can bring the baby. We'd be glad to have you. Is that it's so important. Come on up, ushers, and all of y'all, if you want to. We are not going to be bullied by DeSantis, and we recognize that he and this extremist legislature in Florida, they want to fight over things like critical race theory. They want to ban books that don't even make sense because the books are on Kindle, but they want to do that to deflect from the real issues. So tonight, this mass press conference is to demythologize DeSantis and to deal with the DeSantis deflections, and to announce that we are actively planning a diverse black, white, brown, Asian, native, young, old, gay, straight, people of all different parties, creeds, and faith mass gathering on the state assembly to challenge these regressive policies as a unified moral fusion group, and to put front and center poor and low wealth people, poor and low wealth people, poor and low wealth people of every race, creed, and color. Because that's really what DeSantis and his legislators around the country, what they really don't want to talk about. They want to deflect. They want to have you in the media talking about all these deflections. Now, we understand that this is an old tactic. DeSantis is not a little Donald Trump. He's more like a Richard Nixon. Graduated from an Ivy League schools. He's playing around with division like Nixon and Kevin Phillips and Pat Buchanan in the 1960s created something called the Southern Strategy. Come on up, Cass, too. The Southern Strategy. In that strategy, they said that they wanted to engage in what they call positive polarization. Kevin Phillips said that we'll have a new American revolution coming out of the South, the Southwest. They believed that they could polarize the South, pit black folk against white folk and Asian folk, if they could use the hatred against the civil rights movement, the peace movement, the LGBTQ movement, and the women's movement, that they could divide people. Jonathan Shell in his book, Time of Illusion, said the goal was to divide the very coalition that has the power in the South to change things. That coalition has always been the masses, the poor and low wealth, black people, white people, and brown people, indigenous people, and other people coming together. Well, we're not going to be divided. We know what the plan is. We know what the attempts are. And we know that one of the things that is true is we've got to demythologize DeSantis, stop making it out that he's so big and so bad, because we know in the election that he ran against the former mayor of Jacksonville, he barely won by 1%. And we know that if just 4% of poor and low wealth voters in this state, if they have not voted, if they would organize and register to vote, they could fundamentally overtake any margin of victory since 2016. So DeSantis now and others want to talk about what they're doing to save the soul of democracy, but what they really don't want to talk about is what they're doing to hurt the lives of everyday people. And part of the reason we're here tonight, you'll hear from a few impacted speakers in just a moment, is how their lives are negatively impacted. And DeSantis wants you talking about Mickey Mouse, and he wants us talking about book banning, because he does not want us talking about the real issues. What are the real issues? The real issues are that 47% of all the Florida population are poor and low wealth. Media, you should talk about that. 47%. 9.8 million residents in this state are poor and low wealth. You don't ever hear DeSantis talking about that. 60% of the children in this state, 52% of women, 66% of black people, 63% of Latinos, 39% of white people. And by the way, the highest number of poor and low wealth people in this state are women, 5.4 million women, and white people, 4.3 million white people. And that's why he wants to argue and make this a black-white thing, because he does not want poor and low wealth white people to really understand what his policies are doing to them. Floridians passed a ballot initiative to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. But it would be over a period of time. Wouldn't get there till 2026. So DeSantis is not pushing that. He's not saying no, we need that. We need $15 now. Even though 41% of all the workers in Florida are poor or low wealth, that's 4.4 million people. 4.4 million people in this state make less than a living wage of $15 an hour. That's 32% of all white workers, 57% of black workers, 51% of Hispanic workers. He don't want to talk about that. He wants us talking about 78% of Floridian workers, 8.4 million people, do not have a paid family leave. DeSantis is against paid family leave. His legislature is against family leave. These are the essential workers that kept us alive during COVID. He doesn't want to talk about that, but we do, and we will. And we're going to bring the kind of coalition that can. He wants to talk about Mickey Mouse. He wants to talk about books and banning, which is wrong. But all of that's a deflection, and we are going to call out the deflection. It says that ready for business, he means a right-to-work state, an anti-union state, which means the business is built on the back of poor and low-wealth people. I don't want to talk about that. Florida is one of the leading agriculture producers. Agriculture. He wants black folk over here and white people over here. That's the strategy. It's an old strategy. It's a George Wallace strategy. It's a Lester Maddox strategy. It's a Richard Nixon strategy. But Governor DeSantis needs to know, we know that trick, and that trick won't work here, and that dog won't hunt here, because we're coming in. 12% of the population. You know why this out here? 12% of Floridians were uninsured. 2.5 million people. 400,000 people fall into Medicaid expansion. He doesn't want to talk about this. Because if people come to know this, whatever little bit of love he will go away. Listen, some of the whitest counties in Florida suffered some of the greatest COVID deaths. So while DeSantis is out, look like him. In education, infant care in Florida costs $770 per month, or $9,238 every year. That's $5,000 more than in-state tuition to attend a four-year college, and nearly 70% of the average cost for rent. He doesn't want to talk about that. And DeSantis, he wants to use the issue of school curriculums and CRT, critical race theory, that isn't even taught in kindergarten through 12th grade. He wants to use that as a deflection to not talk about his failure in education and his failure to the children of Florida. But we will not be deflected by DeSantis. We are determined to tell the truth on DeSantis. Florida ranked 49th worst state in terms of income inequality. Y'all worse than New York. In 2018, average income of the top 1% was over 1.5 million, while the bottom 99% averaged only 39,000. In the first year of the pandemic, Florida billionaires added, while DeSantis was not even providing people the things they needed to live. And the business community should be challenging DeSantis, because if you're not challenging DeSantis and you're a business leader, you are saying you agree with the pain that he is bringing on the very people that come in your businesses and buy your products. Here we are in this state. He's playing with so-called gimmicky sales tax holidays. But when you look deep inside of what he's doing, those policies do not benefit poor and low-wealth people. In fact, the governor's most recent proposal, in addition to the sales tax exemption and continuation of sales tax holidays, DeSantis proposes to expand Florida's voucher program, listen now, that could cost public schools to lose $2.4 to $3.4 billion by 2026 and 2027. He does not want to talk about this, but we must talk about it. DeSantis also created an election security task force, gave them a $24 million budget to go after non-existent voter fraud. While people are dying from COVID, need health care, he's chasing a ghost. He does not need to lead Florida, let alone lead the nation. And so we are coming, the Poor People's Campaign, religious leaders, impacted brothers and sisters, moral leaders, advocates, to build a moral fusion coalition of every race, every creed, every color, every sexuality. We will not be deflected. We will not be turned against one another. We are going to turn to one another, and we're going to mobilize the millions of poor and low-wealth voters in this state that have become discouraged, but we're going to go and show them what their power is and let them know that if a governor and a legislature will not listen to you during the year, you can send them home in election year. And you don't have to be quiet, scared, or hide. You can stand up, speak up, be seen, and vote. And so here we are. I want to ask some impacted persons to come very quickly, because we want to give the media a chance to answer questions, to just talk about how these policies have impacted you in a negative way. First, we have two workers. Where are they? Where's Danielle and the team? Those that we're going to speak tonight. Trish, here. Where's your part? Come on up and talk about, as a low-wage worker, how these policies of DeSantis have hurt you and the people that, just give her a hand.
I live on the poor south side of town where most of us don't have a living wage. Most of us are struggling to make ends meet.
That's right.
I'm in a situation where I'm barely making ends meet.
Barely.
I don't have any health care. I can't think about having an insurance. All I got time to do is fight to try to keep a roof over my head and a place to lay my head, and how I'm going to pay these high utility rates.
That's right.
It is a shame that Governor DeSantis isn't thinking about me as a human being and that I have a right to live. He doesn't care about me or no one in my communities. He's not putting us first. He's putting those that have interest and have the desire to capitalize off of us, and he's been using us.
That's right.
Our budget, the money that we put into our city, doesn't go back towards us. We have no resources. We have no we have no health care. We have no living wage jobs. We don't have affordable housing. We don't have enough food to eat. And we're dying, and we're tired, and we're disgusted, but we're not quitting. We can't give up this fight. We're fighting for our lives out here. I'm fighting for my life.
That's right. That's right. Fighting for your life.
Enough is enough, and we got to stop having racist, evil legislators and governors running our country, running our state.
That's right. That's right.
They got no business telling me what to do with my body in regards to the 6-week abortion ban. They have no business telling us what to do in regards to what I feel, what I speculate in regards to being in the Capitol. I should have the right to protest and take to the streets because these streets are our streets.
Our streets.
And we pay for that. We pay for that building that they sit up in there and make those bills and put all these rules in place. But you want to keep silencing us and gagging us,
No.
putting fear in our hearts. Well, we're not afraid no more.
That's right. Not afraid.
We're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And we're not going to stop until we get what we demand, what we want, and what we deserve. And that's our dignity,
That's right.
our power, and our right to live,
And
and
Trish,
to
let
be
me ask
able
you a
to push
question.
our dreams the way we want.
Let me ask you a question. You come from a community of working people. How does it feel for you that the very governor of your state is working against you? Not working for you, but you're not asking for a handout. You're working. And all you want is a living wage and basic human rights. How does the community feel about a governor who's more interested in attacking Disney, more interested in trying to ban books than that governor is you being able to put food on your table and have a place to live?
Me and the people in our community feel that our governor does not care about our lives. He doesn't care if we die. He doesn't care if we're struggling out here. He doesn't care if we're having nervous breakdowns. He does not care if we're getting sick. He does not care if we're out here homeless. He doesn't care about our welfare. He doesn't care about our future.
That's right.
He doesn't give a damn about us at all whatsoever.
That's right.
And that's the very reason why he should not be in that seat. And that's why it's so important for us to get out here and vote. It's important for our students, our black students, all of our children that can vote. Get out here and vote. The people in our communities, our elders, our middle-aged, get out here and vote. We need you to vote. We need you to vote these folks out.
That's right.
Thank
you
you.
so much.
All right.
So you're hearing from the community members of the media. Trish said something. She said, when politicians do this, they don't care about our lives. Those of you in the media that are coming tonight, the new data says that poverty is the fourth leading cause of death in America. Poverty is the fourth leading cause of death in America. Here in Florida, there are over 9 million poor and low-wealth folk. It's higher than homicide. So when you as a governor or legislature work against the poor and low-wealth people, you are participating in what we call policy violence and policy murder. That's what the data says. That's not hyperbole. That's not exaggeration. Poverty is the fourth leading cause of death, higher than diabetes, higher than respiratory disease, and higher than homicide. Why is it that DeSantis, who wants to claim now he wants to be a president of the country, a country where 43% of the nation is poor and low wealth, over 140 million people before COVID. You want to be president, you want to be governor, but all you want to talk about is Mickey Mouse and banning books and allowing corporations to have their sway, but you don't want to deal with how your policies are hurting poor and low-wealth people of every race, creed, color, and sexuality. That is the conversation that we are not going to let this governor or any governor across this state or any person running for any office get away from anymore. Am I right about it? Ben, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ben Braver. I just graduated from the University of South Florida with my degree in economics. I had a beautiful speech written out, but I'm inspired to change it and make it specifically about student poverty. This school voucher program that he was talking about will take $4 billion away from people who need that money in this state. And it'll give 80% of that, $3 billion, taken directly out of poor people's hands and giving it to the people who can already afford a private education. in that private education, 69% of our private schools are unaccredited. They are not schools. And 61% of the students who leave our public schools to go to these private schools come back within the next 2 years by their own choice, and on average, having lost 1 year of education.
Mama.
These schools that DeSantis is selling as these bastions of hope, these bastions of freedom in our state, are just tearing people down, and it's a new way to segregate the school system.
That's right.
These private schools don't have to accept anybody, and they're taking away money from the public schools that do accept everybody.
Teach us, Doc. Teach us.
If DeSantis cared about freedom, he wouldn't take away from the people of this state. And when we talk about education, I'm an economics student. I don't have my whiteboard with me, but I wrote it on the back of my guitar. If you can see these graphs, when we're taught education, we're taught a budget line, how people should be budgeting. In this budget line, it's assumed that you have income just from existing, that your assets will bring you income. Most people I know don't have any assets. Most people I know are already in debt and have to work 3 jobs just to sleep in their car. Most people think the wealth distribution in our economy is a straight line. Maybe it's even a little bit unequal. 400 people in the United States control as much wealth as the bottom half of all Americans. That's not right.
That ain't
That's
right.
right. That's right.
And with House Bill 999, he's restricting students' ability to learn. He's taking away human rights and then taking away our ability to learn about those rights. He's limiting what people can think. I don't think that's America. Do y'all? He is paving the road for his presidency, his campaign for presidency, on letting children die. No child I know is free from the burden of gun violence. No student I know is free from the burden of gun violence. And what did he do? He signed a bill into law that lets everybody have a concealed carry a gun.
So he's saying, so what he's doing is saying more guns equal more safety. That's a lie. And again, Trish, come here. I want the media to see this. Trish, come here. See, this is what you're going to see when we march on the assembly and call people to vote. See this picture right here? This is what DeSantis doesn't want to see. This is what he doesn't want to see together. Black and white standing together, brown and indigenous, and challenging him on all of the economic damage he's doing while he's deflecting by talking about things like Mickey Mouse and banning books. It's all a shell game. And it's because he's weak. And if folk really ever understood what he was doing to people, and he's betting on certain groups that will play that game with him. But we're not playing that game. The Poor People's Campaign National Call for Moral Revival in Florida is not playing that game.
No.
We're coming together across all of these lines to put a face. See this face? This is the face. This is what the faces look like of the people that he's hurting. Let's thank Ben and thank Trish. Yeah, quickly.
The media is portraying DeSantis as a Goliath for which there is no David. That's not true. There are thousands of Davids across this entire state. So many, countless young people working with a passion that can only be described as beautiful and terrifying for fascists and inspiring. And we need to let them into positions of power. Young people want to make difference. We care about our education, we care about diversity, and we care about making Florida a free state.
That's right. Give it up. Give it up. Now, somebody bring me one of the placards that shows the number of poor and low wealth voters in this state that have not voted in the last election, because we want the media to see the number exactly. As we prepare to take questions from the media, I'm going to ask Father Charles Myers, is that where we were just today? Yes. That's right. And Reverend Dr. Morris, if they would come together. One's Episcopalian, one's Methodist, but they're all together. One's black, one's white. You can figure out which one when you look at them up here. It's not that easy to figure out. But they are committed. Both of them help to lead the Florida Council of Churches, and they're going to be a part of this lawsuit that we're going to be filing. The Florida Council of Churches ought to be able to get their own permit. They shouldn't have to go through a legislator. No, we're not playing that game. We're mobilizing, and our mobilizing to the state capitol will not just be for a march, but for a movement. Because we will mobilize in Tallahassee. It'll be a moral march on Tallahassee and to the polls. Anybody got that placard for me? Of the number of poor and low-wealth people in this state that are eligible to vote, and the number of poor and low-wealth voters who have not voted. And if they were to vote, in Florida, it only takes 4 to 5%. 4 to 5%. Media, that's what my brother Ben is trying to say. He's not a Goliath. He's not a Goliath. What's that one? Do you have the voting one? He's not a Goliath. Just 5% of voters who have not voted, poor and low wealth, voting around an agenda could fundamentally shift the election. I want to ask Father Myers to come, and then Reverend Dr. Marsh to come, and then we're going to take questions from the media. Let y'all come together.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Father Charles T. Myers, and I am the pastor of the Episcopal Church of St. John the Baptist here in Orlando, Florida, where we led the civil rights movement under Father Nelson Pender. We are committed, we are rooted in civil rights, and we are committed to community rights. I am also the vice president of the Florida Council of Churches, and we stand here because our faith tradition demands us to stand here. Because Jesus, as the liberating word of God, was anointed with the Spirit, and he began to say that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he's anointed me to preach good news to the poor, to bind up the brokenhearted. And the good news today, and the good news that this moral revival brings, is that the Spirit of the Lord is just not on us clergy who wear our collars, but the Spirit of the Lord is poured out upon all flesh, and all means all. This means gay and straight and poor and marginalized and oppressed and those that are immigrants. My brothers and sisters and siblings, we are calling forth a movement here in the state of Florida, and we will not let hell or high water stand in our way. So we come and we say to the principalities and the powers of the air who like to speak their words, we speak the liberating word of Moses, who said to Pharaoh, "Let my people go." We speak the liberating word of the prophets that say, that cry aloud and spare not, that says that you welcome the foreigner and you welcome the oppressed. We hear the word of Jesus, who says that if you walk in the way of love, it'll cast out fear. That if you love God and you love neighbor, you'll fulfill the law. And when we walk in the way of love, when our faith is tuned to love, and any exegesis of Scripture, my brothers and sisters and siblings, that is not tuned to liberation, is tuned to the oppressor, and the oppression is in the hand of the devil. So we're here to say to you, join us in this fight, Florida. Join us in this fight. No matter if you got faith or no faith, join us as we join hand in hand, black, white, gay, and straight together. And we say together, as the old civil rights movement said, that we come this far by faith, and by faith we will be led through. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Father Charles. Now you can see why this coalition is coming together. We are coming together, and we are coming after the policies of a governor who does not care about what happens to his people. If he does not care about what happens to Floridians, how in the Sam hell do you believe he's concerned about people in America? He is not. And we're standing before you to let you know that we're not going to let him get away with that which he has already begun. The scriptures tell us, woe unto him, unto them, unto him, unto them, unto him who create violence for the people of God. His policies are violent. What he has done to citizens of Florida is violence, nothing short of violence. To not care whether people have health care, to not care whether people have a living wage, to not care about whether or not people can live and move and have their being. This is a little man who is little in morality.
That's right.
And because he is little in morality, we've come to say to the state of Florida and to the United States, just as much as we don't want him as our governor, we don't want him as our president.
Mama.
You saw before you some persons who were impacted. You heard from Father Charles. You're hearing now from me as president of the Florida Council of Churches and one of the tri-chairs of the Florida Poor People's Campaign, that we are fired up. That's right. We ain't gonna be quiet no more. No more. We're not gonna be led by thoughts and prayers. Well, we're gonna take it to the streets.
That's right.
And we're gonna let DeSantis know, brother, if you think we're gonna sit idly by and let you go to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, you got another thing coming.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just one more person, and then we're going to take some questions. Robin would stay right there. Robin with healthcare, because we are allowing impacted people. Then we want to give the media a chance before they leave to ask questions. Robin, talk about healthcare and this government's policies and how bad they've been.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Robin Harris, and I appreciate sharing this space with impacted people. I stand on the margins. Last year, my brother passed away, and I don't have time to go into the story, but two things that he told me. He told me before, he said, sis, I need you to fight because I'm going to die. I'm not sure whether I'm going to die because I'm black, poor, or both, but I need you to fight. So tonight I stand with these amazing people because, and to let everyone know that bad legislation does not and will not determine our destination. He says, don't say gay, don't talk about black, don't talk about books. And the reason why he says that, because he knows it's that we live by the preceding words of our mouth.
That's right.
But our words and our declarations, when we speak, we don't need permission to love. We don't need permission to be healed. We don't need permission to overcome. We just simply are going to do it because the power is in the tongue. And I like what the Bible says in one verse, that second clause, it says that my tongue is the pen of a ready writer. How many ready writers do we have with us on today? We're going to write our legislation. We're going to write our victory. We're going to write our healing. We're going to write our love. We're going to write our songs, and we're going to write our victory. We're going to say where we're going to go. We are the ready writers.
Yes,
Let's get ready.
Thank you. This is real. This is real, Florida. You can join us. Kate, I need the number. They can text too. So that you can join us. You can go to the Poor People's Campaign, the National Call for Moral Revival website. It should be on the front of this podium. I hope it is. It should be there. Also, we want you to know again, while DeSantis is attacking Mickey Mouse, telling people not to say gay, trying to ban books that can't be banned because they're on Google and Kindle anyway, he doesn't want to talk about this. Truth will set you free. Woe unto those who legislate evil and rob the poor of their rights and make women and children their prey. While he's trying to get people focused on don't say gay, go after the mouse, and What's that other thing he's doing that makes me want to forget? Talk about banning books. He got the media all worked up. He doesn't want to talk about this. He don't want to talk about this. Because he knows that this will bring people together. The other will divide. It's issues of division. While he wants to attack the mouse and talk about banning books and talking about blocking honors courses, blocking history, not wanting to tell history, presenting himself as a champion of whiteness. He doesn't want to let even white people know that 78% of workers in Florida do not have family leave. And if it's 78%, this can't be all black people.
That's right.
Right, the most of these are white people.
Yep.
While he's attacking the mouse, trying to block books, trying to not tell the truth about history, he doesn't want Florida talking about this. 8.4 million workers in Florida don't have any family medical leave. He doesn't want to talk about 42% of the workforce make less than $15 an hour. He don't want to talk about that because he knows people support this. He don't want you to know that he's undermining that, especially when he pushes for corporations to get more tax cuts. He doesn't want to talk about 300,000 people at risk of losing their homes. He doesn't want to talk about the fact that at the Florida minimum wage, you've got to work, watch this, 106 hours a week to afford a basic 2-bedroom apartment. He wants you talking about a mouse. And critical race theory that he doesn't even understand. Who's going to get educated and not be critical? He does not want you to talk about the more than 2.8 million Floridians who benefit from supplemental nutrition food stamps. Many of them white, many of them black, many of them brown. He does not want us to talk about that. This movement will. And this movement will talk about it not by people helicoptering in to fly. I'm only here today because we're in training. But folk like Father Mars, folk like the Father you heard, and the impact of people. When we come to the Capitol, they will be front stage. They will be front and center. Floridians, the people whom his policies are hurting and the legislators are hurting. That's why we're here. That's why Reverend Dr. Liz is here, as the co-chair of the Poor People's co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign. Come on this side. Because all over this country, we now have over 30 coordinated campaigns. We got a Congress coming up in June in Washington, D.C. Our mantra is, somebody's been hurting our people, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore. And we're mobilizing among the poor and low-wealth people in this country. We're mobilizing. We want you to text MORAL, M-O-R-A-L, to 38542. But before we take questions, Reverend Liz, as you come here tonight as a theologian and a scholar as well, both of us are in theology and we write a lot about the Bible. And you come here, what is your word to Florida and the media as you think about DeSantis, think about this legislature, and think about this distraction, this deflection that's going on?
That's right. And it indeed is a deflection and a distraction. And, indeed, Governor DeSantis is using an age-old strategy, a strategy of divide and conquer, of distract and deflect, of focusing and neglecting the weightier matters of the law. And those matters are justice and truth and freedom. Our sacred texts, our Bible is clear that if we are to be on the right side of history, if we are to hold up that which our sacred texts profess, that is to do no wrong, that is to not shed innocent blood.
That's right.
And it's to lift up the very people that our sacred traditions honor. And that's not what the legislature nor the governor of this state are doing. Instead, they are woe, as according to Matthew. They are being hypocritical. They're claiming to be religious, but then they're doing exactly what we just discussed. They're denying people health care. They're lowering people's wages in a moment when people need higher wages. They're hurting our schools and our kids. They say that they value life, but life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness means having an adequate income, means having a good education, means making sure that we're lifting from the bottom so that everybody can rise. And so we know that when we come together, when we organize together, we have the power to make their no's to us turn into yeses. And that's the kind of power this Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, is all about. And we are going to move forward together, not one step back.
Amen. One more factoid. In the states where the margin of victory for president is within 3 to 4%, poor and low-wealth people make up nearly 44% of the electorate. Poor and low-wealth people also make up nearly 30% of the electorate across the board. Poor and low-wealth voters are not the sleeping giant, but the rising giant. In this past election, if you check the record, they made a major difference. And persons like DeSantis and others fear when poor and low-wealth black people, brown people, Asian people, Native people, Latino people, gay people, straight people, trans people all come together and decide that we're going to push a moral agenda, we're going to shift the political power, and we're going to shift the economic structure of this country. So members of the media, do you have any questions tonight? I'd ask all the speakers to step up, step in. Yes, ma'am. Your name, please? Jeff. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Sure. Sure. Yeah. The only reason DeSantis and the legislature are afraid of people voting because they know they can't win in a fair election. Stop playing. Just don't move. Cut my attention. They are afraid. They know if they win, if they run in a fair election, they can't win. That's the only reason you would suppress the vote.
That's right.
They also are not just suppressing the vote of black people, they're suppressing the vote of white people, brown people, because the current voter suppression bills across the country affect about 50 million voters. Thirdly, the only reason they can do this, I don't need it up anymore, the only reason they can do this, turn this down some please, the only reason they can do this is because Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act has not been reinstated. Because a lot of the things they're trying to do wouldn't make it through pre-clearance. Now that's because of the failure of 49 Republicans and 2 Democrats to pass the John Lewis Voter for the People Act and the restoration of the Voting Rights Act. But voting rights suppression is directly tied to economic oppression. That's what we want to make the point. And so it is good that you have the Women's League and the NAACP coming together because that shows it's not just a black issue. In North Carolina in 2013, we filed a lawsuit against the worst voter suppression act, the worst voter suppression bill since the Shelby decision. And we won. The state spent $6 million. We put together a vast coalition of women, men, black folk, brown folk, white folk, students, and we proved that they were engaged in voter suppression with surgical precision. Because they only go after the things that they know are going to really allow the people to vote that they don't want to vote. We won. And in 2016, we sent a governor home like DeSantis. Took us 3 years, but he had to go. And we mobilized voters. And we turned out poor and low-wealth voters of every race, creed, and color. This voter suppression strategy is as old as the Southern strategy. It's as old as the time right after Reconstruction in the 19th century, in the 1900s, right after slavery, when voters, black and white people, came together all over the South. It's contrary to the vision of the Florida State Constitution. It's contrary to the law of the land. No state can abridge or deny the right to vote. That's what the 15th Amendment says. 14th Amendment says equal protection under the law for all persons. And so again, this is what we call political coup d'etats. It is an attempt when you have a supermajority to try to change the laws so that people cannot challenge you at the polls.
That ain't right.
They're trying to redistrict in a way that stacks and packs black and white voters in a way that undermines the ability to impact across the board. They're trying to undermine every way. When in a democracy, you should want to open up every way possible. See, and that's the difference between our movement. We want everybody to vote. We don't care what party they are. We don't care what color they are. Everybody should have a right to vote. Everybody that is 18 years old or naturalized, born or naturalized in these United States. And as a preacher, last thing I would say, DeSantis and the legislature keep trying to play God. They're going to find out they're not God, but they keep trying to play God. Because, see, the truth of the matter is in America, we only give voting rights to people that are 18 years or older, born or naturalized in these United States. We don't give voting rights to dogs. We don't give voting rights to parakeets, puppies, and pets. So anytime you try to suppress the vote, you're trying to suppress my humanity.
Yeah.
You're trying to suggest that I'm not a person. That's wrong. That's idolatry. That's self-worship. That's unjust. That's unconstitutional. And so but what I would say is while we're fighting in court, we got to mobilize in the street.
That's right.
That's right.
And we got to mobilize at the polls. Here you should know, in 2020, the margin of victory in this state was 3.3%. This is why they're trying to suppress the vote. The margin of victory wasn't but 3.3%. Poor and low wealth income voters represented 46% of the voters in this state. There are 9 million eligible poor and low wealth voters. 5.3 million are white, and most poor whites don't vote against their own interests. Many of them just don't vote. 1.7 million are Latino, and 1.6 million are black. That's what he's afraid of.
That's right.
That coalition right there, that 9 million poor and low wealth voters, that if they find out, and you all help us tell the truth, we don't want you to be subjective, just be objective. Tell on the fact that while he's attacking the Mickey Mouse, he's also blocking people's wages. Yeah. Tell on the fact that while he's trying to get people not to read a book, he's also blocking health care. Yeah. And when people hear that and see that, they're going to say, wait a minute. It doesn't matter if you black or you white or you brown. If you don't have enough money to pay your light bill, we all black in the dark when your lights go off. It doesn't matter if you're black or you brown or you white, you Latino. If you get sick and can't go to the hospital, you die. And you don't die black, you die. You don't die white, you die. If your child is hungry and you don't make enough money to hardly have a room to stay in, let alone food, that Latino baby, that Asian baby, that brown baby, that black baby doesn't cry black and brown and Asian and white. They cry pain. They cry hunger. So DeSantis is deflecting. I would say everybody that can ought to be an amicus brief on that lawsuit. And we ought to file every lawsuit we can. But while we're filing lawsuits, we also must mobilize poor and low wealth voters who have the power. Just 5% could fundamentally shift everything in this state. And we intend to be about that business. Any more questions? If not from the media, let's make one big circle. Kaz and Danielle, if you all would lay placards down, front side up on the floor, right in front of the pulpit. We're gonna make one big circle. You know, when you're getting ready to rally, you do a circle. We're all together. Just lay them down in a straight line. That's right. And then we're gonna get around them. Dr. Jackson will call on you in a minute. And let's make a circle around. Everybody that's in here, let's make a circle. Media, you want to bring your cameras up so you can see the real deal. And check our facts. Check our facts. We're not afraid of a fact check. DeSantis is, but we're not. Give my cane. Where Trish and everybody? How well do you know somebody that's been hurting our brother? You know that well? You do. Come on, Trish. Trish gonna help us on somebody's hurting our brothers and sisters. It's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore. We're gonna sing it with some gusto, and then Reverend Jackson's gonna come and lead us in a closing word of prayer. Where's the musician? Come on, now we need you. And before we hold hands, we can clap hands and we'll hold hands during prayer. All right, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Because I'm going to join in when you find the key.
All right, y'all ready then?
No, that ain't it. Let's do it.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too
long. Come on, y'all.
I tell you, it's gone on far too long. Yeah, it's gone on far too long. I tell you, somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore.
Our wages.
Somebody's been walking our wages, and it's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on far too long. Yeah, it's gone on far too long. I tell you, somebody's walking our wages, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's hurting our people, and it's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on. Yeah, it's gone on. I tell you, somebody's hurting our people, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore.
Our children.
Somebody's hurting our children, and it's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on. Yeah, it's gone on. I tell you, somebody's hurting our children, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore.
Somebody, come on.
Somebody's hurting my mothers, and it's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on. Yeah, it's gone on. I tell you, somebody's hurting our mothers, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore.
Somebody been telling a lie.
Somebody's telling our lies, and it's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on. Yeah, it's gone on. I tell you, somebody's telling these lies, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's hurting our workers, and it's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on. Yeah, it's gone on. I tell you, somebody's hurting our workers, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Thank you.
Amen. Dear God, we come tonight thanking you for this day. We come tonight because we know that somebody has been hurting our people. It's gone on far too long. And your people are saying we're not going to be what? Silent anymore. 140 million people in this country, 9.78 million people in the state of Florida, and we're not going to be what? Silent anymore. We're going to keep on marching. We're going to keep on protesting. We're going to keep on working We're going to keep on resisting until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Send us from this place, but never from your presence. We ask it in the name of the Creator. All God's people said, amen.